Where you find Baptists, you find a confessional people. And that's because, given Baptist principles, the way we express our faith together in commonality is to say out loud what it is that we believe. And not only do we say it, we write it down. And then we have confessions of faith. That goes back to the earliest Baptists in London. And it goes right to the founding of the Southern Baptist Convention. Virtually all the churches gathered there were a part of associations that had very clear confessions of faith, ways of saying, we believe this. This is the faith once for all delivered to the saints. This is what it means to be a Baptist. The Southern Baptist Convention took that responsibility on in most formal sense in the year 1925. And at that point, you had the high watermark of the fundamentalist modernist controversy. You had theological issues that were simply dividing people, and it came to issues as basic as the authority and inspiration of Scripture, the inerrancy of Scripture, the validity and reality, the virgin birth, the necessity of the blood atonement. All these things were a part of the theological controversies of the age, and Southern Baptists had to take a stand. And that's exactly what they did in 1925. And they didn't come up with a completely new confession of faith. They went back to the New Hampshire Confession, one of the most familiar and one of the most classic Baptist confessions of faith. But you know, Southern Baptists always have a little bit more to say. And so in the Baptist Faith and Message, it isn't just the New Hampshire Confession of the Faith of the Baptists. It's also an elaboration of the particular beliefs that are foundational to cooperation in the Southern Baptist Convention. And you know, that's not an accident. 1925, three things happened. We had the development of the Baptist Faith and Message and its adoption by the convention. We had the adoption of the cooperative program. We had the establishment of the executive committee. And you know, there's really a symmetry there. By the time Southern Baptists reached those early decades of the 20th century, in order to do what we wanted to do in cooperative ministry together, we had to know for certain we stand together on the great doctrines of the faith. And not just the great doctrines we share with all Christians in all places at all times, but in particular with fellow Baptists. This isn't just the Southern Christian Convention, it's the Southern Baptist Convention. Over the years, Southern Baptists have faced additional controversies. No surprise there. That's just the way of the world. We're living in a modern age in which you have doctrine after doctrine questioned, truth after truth challenged. And so Southern Baptists have arisen to the occasion and have looked at the Baptist Faith and Message, for instance, in 1963, given some of the controversies that were very much a part of the larger conversation in Christianity in America at the time, but particularly were issues that threatened the cooperation of Southern Baptists. Southern Baptists adopted a revised form of the Baptist Faith and Message. They wanted to say many of the same things. They wanted to say some newly necessary things. Now, in the verdict of history, I think it's fair to say the 1963 statement didn't go far enough. It wasn't clear enough on some issues. It did not settle the controversies. It didn't give us a firm place to stand. And so, with appreciation to the Baptists who worked hard on that revision, it was in the year 2000 that Southern Baptists came back and adopted a new version of the Baptist Faith and Message. That's the Baptist Faith and Message as we know it today. And you know, that was on the other side of two things. It was on the other side of the great clarification that has taken place in American denominational life. By the time you get to the last years of the 20th century, it is clear that you can pretty much divide denominations in the United States between those that were theologically liberal and those that were theologically conservative. And let's be honest, there had been a major controversy within the Southern Baptist Convention, and some issues were clarified that had to be clarified, such as the necessity of affirming the inerrancy of Scripture, the exclusivity of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the simplicity of the gospel and the authority of Scripture, the world mission mandate, and the moral requirements of the gospel. Those were things that Southern Baptists said we need to say clearly in the year 2000. You know, going back to 1925, no one would have thought that we would have to say that God's creation of human beings as male and female was fixed as a divine gift. That was quite necessary in 2000, and we all know it's even more necessary in 2025. You look at all kinds of issues, including the sanctity of human life, and so many other issues that had arisen in American public life. Southern Baptists were ready to take a stand. And you know, it's not just enough to say we're taking a stand on this issue, we're going to make a statement. It's another thing to say it is so essential to our cooperation that we're going to put it in our confession of faith in such a way that we're going to say to Southern Baptists, this is what we believe. We're going to say to churches considering coming into the Southern Baptist Convention, these are the doctrines you need to affirm. We're going to say to the watching world, this is what we believe. These are the truths we believe. This is what we preach. This is what we stand for. And it's good on this 100th anniversary that Southern Baptists come back and say, we stand on what we said. We stand on these words. This is indeed a confession of faith. It's not merely a creed written on paper. This is what we believe. Without hesitation, we stand on these beliefs. These are the foundation of our cooperation. And as we celebrate the centennial of the cooperative program at the same time as the Baptist Faith and Message, it's good for Southern Baptists to say, it wasn't an accident then. It's not an accident now. Thanks be to God.